What is going on, Muscle Bully? Wait a few seconds, man. Tonight's topic, one of the biggest lies, if not the biggest lie ever told in the bully community. It's just genetics. All right, let me get in here.
Man,
It's on and popping.
good day, man. We're here. We're here.
Right in it. There he is.
There we go.
Sheesh.
What's going on?
What's the
What's
deal,
that?
man?
What's all that noise?
Oh, I got a fan back here and these dogs.
That's what I was
Gotcha.
like. What? It sounds like a hurricane.
It sounded like you was hitting a bomb.
Heck no.
Oh.
All right, guys. So tonight, man, we're going to talk about. We haven't been on here for a while, so obviously, for those who haven't seen us on here, we ain't fucking been on here. So I'm excited, man, because we're all into the bullies, and we've been doing it for a while. So I'm glad to see you, man. I hope you're doing well, Zach.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I've been busy. I've had these pups, bro. Everybody's pretty much gone, situated. They're about going on 5 months now. So everything's like,
Yeah.
getting back to normal.
And Trevor, he's a new baby daddy over here. He's taking care of the pups now.
Man, bad thing is,
He's like,
all mine coming right back in the heat again.
He's like, at what age do you put diapers on a 2-day-old pup?
Bruh. Not today.
I tell
That's
people all the
damn
time,
sure.
though,
Say what?
I'll take them straight out the wound on the mom until mom gives up. When the mom gives up, that's when it's more work, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's detrimental. Like, it's very important in the first couple of weeks, but I feel like if you're doing the right thing, you kind of just supervise them for the most part. Like, when she gives up, like when she stops licking and cleaning up feces, and then it's your job.
Yeah.
It's a totally different ball game.
Have you seen, especially in the bully community, like with bull breeds, have you seen a dramatic change from dogs? Like, because it seemed like mothers back in the day, like 15, 20 years ago, you didn't have to really worry about the litter, you know? Like, you get a good whelping box, make sure they don't sit on them or crush them, but that's about it, you know? They take care of them.
That's been my experience, man. I really haven't had to do anything. Maya, on the other hand, is a different type of dog. She's going to require us to be very precautious. She's exhausting. I literally leave the pups in the kennel or in this whelping box with Zara all night. And they're good. They're good. She licks clean. She whines. She wants to be around them. I have no concerns. But Maya, that's like Humpty Dumpty and a dinosaur walking around with eggs this big. She'll kill one of them on accident.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I think that's the biggest problem is making sure that they're just safe around them. But a lot of the times I do feel like we pull the naturalness out of the whelping process is like far as like letting the mom do what she's supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know,
And
that makes sense.
I look for those traits too. So that's why I posted a video. Even of Zara creeping in, she's so smart that she'll tiptoe in her box, just take her time. Like she's here. That's the one thing I look for when I do anything. How smart is this dog?
Yeah, good mom, bad mom. I mean, you're gonna have them. It's either they got it or they don't.
Exactly.
So would you guys? Okay, so tonight we're gonna talk about one of the biggest lies that I feel has ever been told in this game, and then we're gonna take a deep dive into it. Is that it's just genetics. So as you guys are talking about, you know, mothers and stuff like that, and how they're taking care of their offspring, how much does genetics play a part in that?
Go ahead, Zach. You start, boss.
I think it plays a big part. I mean, one thing I learned from Trevor when my female was just having a litter, you know, everybody wants to, oh, how many think she's having, game? And I text Trevor, and he was like, first thing he said was, well, how many did her mom have? And I was like, I think, you know, and then I think I said like 6 or 7, and Trevor was like, well, I'm gonna say 6. And then went and got an ultrasound, and guess how many she had? 6. So it's like, then I asked my vet the same thing, like, hey, you know, how close is that as far as like the mom having 12 pups, the daughter having 12 pups? And she said, you know, it plays a big part in the genetic game. But like you said, good mom, bad mom. I mean, if you come from a line of breeding females, I would imagine that genetically in their mind it's put there, and then she should be good at it. So, I mean, I feel it plays a big part in as far as, like he said, being a smart dog, you know, being a healthy dog. So genetics, I feel, goes a long way.
So one of the big lies that
Yeah.
I've always felt was like it's just genetics, right? Like a lot of people used to bet, especially I don't know how much it is right now nowadays, but for a long time it was always like it's just genetics. But I mean, there's just too much data and study that shows that proves that there's a lot of things that can influence genetics. So we'll go into about 4 topics, and we'll start with one topic, and then I'll let you guys chime in and give us your insight on it. But the 4 topics I want to talk about that really influence cellular health and cellular development, right? Because all animals are massive living cells. And so let's talk. There's going to be 4. There's nutrition, exercise, psychology, which could involve training, and environment. So let's start out with nutrition.
Well, hey, look, the first question we got, which kind of goes to your last one, was the environment. So let's, if we can,
Okay.
I think that's almost, in my opinion, it's almost more important. I've actually taken on, I'll say this out loud, but bad dogs that I believed in me more than I believed in their program, and because of what we call epigenetics, which literally the DNA will sequence itself uniquely to be making the dog good or great. It's like Adrian Peterson, for those who like football. He's as good as his will to get up and go to work and practice and train. Emmitt Smith said all men are created equal. Some work harder in off season. So your dog is a direct reflection of your intentions and your being. So environment's everything, right? You get bad food, the dog turns into shit. If you don't care about the dog, don't love the dog, don't build the bond, don't understand the dog. My pup, Ego, for instance, and even the one I'm keeping out of here, every 30 minutes a day, I wear these clothes. He's staying on me already. When I tell him to do this and that, fast forward, I'll get a dog like Ego again because the environment, the conditions, just like us. We were raised bad. We act like some fucking hoodlums. So, environment's everything.
Go ahead, Zach.
No, I mean, he's absolutely right. Like, I see it with the keeper that I'm keeping off of my female. And it's like, first of all, she's a clone of him. I mean, he's a clone of her identically as far as suit, color, face, you know, the whole 9. Like, so the pheno is completely there. But then when you start talking about the genetics, I mean, there's mannerisms that he's doing that she does that are exactly the same. The way they pant, the way they hold their tongue out, the way she smiles. Like, he does all the exact things that she does to the T. And it's like mind-blowing. But then when you take it out of retrospect and you think about it, she does the exact same things that her dad does. Because I've handled her dad and I've watched him, and it's like, it just passes down. Like, so it's like, if you take 2 dumb dogs, I feel like you breed them, you're going to get a pack of dumb dogs.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And we talk about environment, like, let's say you take a dog, right? And the dog is in a rescue where it's stressed the fuck out all the time, right? And then you take a dog, that same dog, you put him in a pet home where he's a fucking couch potato. And then you take that same dog and you give it to Zach. And you take that same dog and you give it to Trevor. You're going to get a different dog at the end of the day, right? A stressed out dog is going to develop different. A dog who lives a lifestyle that, like a fitness lifestyle that Trevor has, it's probably going to look different than what you're going to be doing with them if you're going to show them in the show ring, you know? And so environment is critical. For the longest time, I used to see dogs that it was always kind of prevalent that a dog that stayed outdoors was a harder bodied dog than a dog that was indoors. You know what I mean? Because it's just constantly moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can agree because I've seen people work their dogs at home for months on end and then come to a dog show and like the dog breaks down. And it's like, bro, I tell people all the time, you're not going to match this energy anywhere. Like, there's nowhere you can go. You can't go to Lowe's and find 200 dogs. Like, you can find 200 people, but you can't find 200 dogs. So it's like when you take your dog and you put him in this new element, and there's testosterone, estrogen, everything in the air. There's a radio. There's somebody on the intercom. It's like so much going on. That dog that was at home that was like working at the top of your pack, all of a sudden just doesn't want to work. And people, I don't know why. And it's like, you know, it's got to do with the environment.
That's a valid point. Because you got to think about it. You know, we'll segue into dog psychology because I think that plays that ties in. Because when you think about it, guys, like dogs feed off each other's energy. People at Home Depot ain't giving your dog that energy that, like you said, 200 other dogs are getting energy. There could be one nervous dog that's in a booth, two kennels down from you that's fucking losing its shit and making your dog going, what the fuck is going on right now?
Yeah, I mean, environment plays a big part. I mean, relationship with the dog, period. Like, the couch potato for instance. Like if you say like you take that same dog and you say they crate train them. They use a crate and they're at work 18 hours of the day. They're pretty much gone. They're in and out, and this dog doesn't get time out the crate. He's going to be a totally different dog as far as aggression, as far as how he acts towards everybody around him, his eating habits. Like a lot's going to change because of his environment. So it's like I try not to, when I do handle dogs and people ask me at a show, I always decline because your dog doesn't know me, bro. Like I'm not going to fail your dog because we have no relationship. So if I go out here and he's not going to work to his full potential because one, I'm just some random dude that you just met and they're like, here, go with him. And he's like, what? You know? And so it's like, I've never really taken a dog that I just met at a show to be like, I got to be with the dog for at least a couple of weeks while I work it.
Yeah, Trevor and I went out to Maddie's resort in Spa, and she had talked about, there's dogs that come to her place that don't want to go back home to their owners because they love the environment that Maddie offers compared to what they're getting at home, because our definition of a quality life for our dogs is probably a different definition that they would have if they had the free option to choose.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like we're humanizing it, even it being a pet. Like the dogs don't want to be held to it. Like you got to think most of the time when people get a pet, the dog is just there. Like he doesn't really get that chance to go out and run and be a dog. So it's like, yeah, I agree totally that dogs would rather just be free.
So let's segue into dog psychology then. All right. So the mental behavior issues with the dogs, how they act, how they respond, training in general, the mindset. Over at X Dog, we deal with a lot of dogs with anxiety issues, dogs with reactive and behavior issues. Where does psychology fall in your guys' opinion when it comes to influencing cellular health and development?
Well, for one, you just want to make sure that you know how to speak dog. It's like walking into the room if you're not a business person and they're talking numbers and percentages, or walking into a room with scientists and talking about curing cancer and you don't know anything about BRCA1. You could walk into a lot of places and not know how to communicate. So psychology, like anything, is trying to understand what a dog is saying, or whatever the case may be. It's on you, not the dog. Because is it really psychology, or you understanding your dog's needs? And that comes through understanding behavior and watching behaviors. And I'm watching everything and I'm tracking it. I put a time lapse on every day and I rearrange the whelping box to see if my cognitive skills, how they're going to measure, month 8 from now.
Yeah.
But it all starts for me here, putting them in a sandbox, put them in a dirt box. I got some stuff that I go through extensively, like I said, to breed the best dogs on earth. And I love intelligence, and that requires pushing the dog to its full limit. So psychology for me is me paying attention to what the dog's saying and knowing what it needs. And Zara is almost a dog who speaks English. So she'll literally make a noise, like take me outside, let me do this. I told her to move there. Like, how'd you know? She wants to cool off, move so she can lay on the concrete. Like, you just know your dog too. But again, I understand their behaviors and how they're going to respond to things because I do dogs. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I would say remove emotion. Like so many times I feel like people are like, oh, my dog's unhappy. I'm like, how do you know? Like, he's just like, so I had to explain to my old lady, like, we got one dog that like, he doesn't like being around you. So like, if you're laying down somewhere, he'll kind of be by you, but he's facing the opposite way. Like he has his ass towards you and he's away from you. And like, he's just doing his thing. And she doesn't understand it. She's like, why won't he lay by me? And I'm like, well, first of all, he's being respectful by giving you your space. Like he's being respectful dog by giving you a face. And then 2, he's kind of in protect mode. Like he's facing the other way, making sure nothing's gonna come in this area. I was like, guarantee you, one of the kids run around the corner, he's gonna stand up on all 4 and be like, what's going on? So it's like you just gotta understand the dog. And it's like a lot of times we have to remove human emotion because they don't have that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
and
like
that makes a lot of sense. When I went out to Caesars, he talked about front of the pack dog, middle of the pack dog, back of the pack dog, and I didn't understand that. But now when I got back to my pack, Triton is a front of the pack dog. He's going to be a little bit hard headed, challenge me a little bit, right? Bella, she's a middle of the pack dog. She's going to roll with me everywhere I go, but she's not really ever going to challenge me, and she's pretty submissive when it comes to certain things. Bravado, he's back of the pack dog. We could all be in the bedroom. Everybody could be in the bedroom, and he'll be on the ottoman in the living room and be perfectly fine with that. And so, being present is love to a dog. Like our definition of love is kissing them on the face, but they probably don't even like
And
get the fuck
humanizing
out
them.
of my face, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're allowing that boundary though. Like now that
Yeah.
dog feels it's acceptable to kiss you in the face. So like then you'll have the incident where the little kid's like, oh, hey, puppy. And he's like, hey, give me a kiss. And it's like, oh, he bit my baby. Like, no. So it's like a lot of that comes with psychology. Like you're giving them that boundary to say, hey, that's acceptable. So, I mean, my dad was military dog handler. Like there was things we weren't allowed. Our dogs weren't allowed to do certain things like that because it gives them that acceptance to be like, okay, that's cool. And it's like, nah, like don't do that, period.
And with poor communication with your dog, that can stress the fuck out of a dog. And when you are stressed out, it affects your cellular development and health and mindset. You know, we talk a lot about physical stimulation, but I think there's not a lot of talk about mental stimulation with the dog, you know? When you think about, for example, we'll segue into physical in this because it's going to tie in together. When you think about coyotes or wolves, right? Predators, you know, we kind of made it so convenient for our dogs to where like dogs aren't designed to eat out of a bowl. When you think about a wolf, right? They wake up. The first thing they do, they go hunt. And they go hunt. That's exercise. That's physical stimulation in hopes that they will catch something to eat that day. Yeah. Then once they catch it, then they start ripping the shit apart, right? They start eating it, killing it, make the kill, eating it. That's that mental stimulation. You know, the dogs are fucking tearing up dog beds, breaking out of candles, eating the shit out of your couch, being completely destructive, try to release that because it's in their nature to wake up, exercise, make the kill in hopes to make the kill, eat the food, and guess what? After they get out, if they accomplish all that, they go relax and they calm down. But our dogs, they don't have to fucking work for their food. They're hardly exercise, and so they're losing their shit. And then they got miscommunication with the owner, and it's just a fucking melting pot of just fucking confusion, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, you got anything to tie on to that, or you want to get into physical?
Yeah,
I thought he was about to say something. That's why we all got quiet like a motherfucker.
I kind of stopped. No, I mean, that's like I learned about fasting my dog through you. Like you were the first person ever to be like, no, I fast my dog. And I was like, what? Like, hold up, wait a minute. And I've been around dog people my whole life, but like since you've told me about that, like I've dove so far into it, into the fact that I've learned about mitochondria. Like the fact that, you know what I'm saying? Like I just started learning and like I fast my dogs now and I've understood and like most people will be like, oh, my dog's starving. He's starving. I'm like, wow, how do we know that? But I've seen a difference in the way they act, their diet system, everything with the whole fasting thing. Like, and then I've learned now I've learned that maybe not fasting a dog is why we are so prone to dogs having cancer. Because I've learned that when you stop and you fast, the mitochondria, it stops focusing on creating energy from food. And it starts basically replenishing the body, and it takes them cancerous cells of the mitochondria that could be bad, and it kills them, and then you get fresh ones just from fasting. So if the body never fasts, then it never kills the cancerous cells.
Now, have you seen a difference in your dog's weight? Like, you know, like how is it influence your weight? Because my dogs, I'm telling you right now, like if I feed them 7 days a week, they'll leave food. And I feed one time a day. They'll leave food, you know. But I have the weight is the same.
I would say that the weight still stays the same now too, but I also feel like it's because they're healthier as far as muscle wise. Like they're more conditioned. They're not as fat. Their body's not burning. Like I also learned that the carbohydrates in the food. So now like I'm watching that and it's like now they're not burning carbs, they're burning fat, which is a better process for the dog. Like they naturally they need to burn fat, right? Not carbs. So I've been watching that and it's like I can tell a difference in their overall look, but then when I put them on a scale, they're still the same weight. Like they're still at that same, so it's like muscle weighs more than fat anyway. So I don't see a difference in their weight dropping, but I see a difference in them looking better as far as everything, like muscle definition, skin coat, they're acting better, you know.
Yeah, they'll probably work that day that you fucking fast them and you feed them. They'll probably work. They'll give you all their attention.
Yeah, they're waiting on it, but they're getting used to it now. Like they kind of know Sunday. Like when Sunday rolls around, it's kind of like, all right, they know like it's not coming. Like we're not getting.
Well, okay, so what you do there is every week you switch a day. So that'll confuse them. You
Yeah.
know, that'll confuse their system a little bit. And so, so let's get into the physical part. So we know that exercise influences a dog's cellular development, right? Like, you work out a fucking dog, he's going to be in better shape. You don't work him out, they're just. And I think a lot of people, they have the misconception. They just think physical appearance. But I want to take a deeper dive where it's like it'll influence the potential chance of your dog getting a health-related disease. You know what I mean? Like it can fuck with your dog's skin and coat condition, the digestive health. It's much deeper and a broader spectrum than just the physical appearance. Mental stimulation, like we talked about earlier. You know, predators, they go and hunt their food. You know, that's exercise.
Well, you know, I exercise the shit out of my dog, so I understand the importance of basically those cells along with the muscles doing their job. When the muscles don't have a job to do, even in our bodies, we turn into shit. So it's imperative. My body aches if I don't get to my knuckle. I'm like, even now, I'm like, fuck, I got to get to this gym. And I start losing my goddamn mind if I don't work out. So the dogs, 40% of their body is made up of muscle. They have 350 pairs of muscle, which means they have 700 muscles total. Everything on a dog's body, for the most part, you don't look at a dog and think Jigglypuff. You think, God, that dog is muscular. And there are dogs that symbolize ectomorphs. So ectomorph is a skinny person who can't put on weight, that being a greyhound, Saluki, and various other breeds like Whippets. So you got to exercise those dogs because everything about the dog, think about the Whippets' back hind parts. They've got more ass than any other breed realistically. And and they are more proficient. They're the most proficient dog in terms of ergonomics and moving on earth.
Yeah.
So the importance of exercising the dog, it really plays back into the mind and then the environment, because now you want to take your dog to the next level or get it to do things for you. So sometimes the dog needs to exercise before you go and do some thinking games just to get that energy out, right?
Yeah.
So I got a whole system in play to make sure the dogs get their exercise in the morning, train at night, and then do another walk sometime in the evening. But, you know, my top 5 per se. So it's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we know that exercise slows down the aging process of living cells, you know. And for those who don't know what that means, it means that your dog, it gives your dog the opportunity, the ability to live longer and a higher quality of life, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that their dog's laying around that it's just chill, but a lot of it's like we talk all the time. Me and Trevor, we talk about it all the time. It's just massive inflammation and they're lethargic.
Or depression. I think a key thing that you talked about goes with the mind. If you don't, I think people learned this during COVID, is when you were stuck in your house, depression, suicide increase. It was like living in Alaska because you could go out and walk.
You were confined,
That confinement was a real thing. And your dog, imagine your dog lives like that for 10 years where it gets barely any sun, no stimulation, and you wonder why it's laying around. It's depressed as fuck.
I mean, anybody who's done a bid would know that, you know? And so it's just like, I mean, I don't like, you know, like if somebody feels comfortable talking about it, that's fine. Feel free to talk about it. But, you know, like at the end of the day, like, if you've experienced it, you know, like I like lost my shit.
It is like, you know, I mean, I've been there, I'm not gonna lie. And it's like, you know, if you're not mentally strong, it'll break you. And I don't care how long you're there. Like, you hear stories and it's like, it is like, because they don't give you no freedom. Like, you're not going to get the privilege that you're used to. So it's kind of like the sense of a dog, if you think about it, because naturally what's a dog want to do? Run, be wild, chase things, kill things, fight, you know, do dog things. And it's like, then we take them as humans and we put them in a fence, we put them inside, we let them out, we bring them in, we feed them at a certain time. And it's just like, if they're not getting that job, which, you know, there's, you know, the dog can't do this, they can't do this, you know, it might pass out, it might have a heat stroke. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you on that part. Breed for better if you want to be better. But I mean, as far as genetics, you know, when I first got into the bullies, like, I've been around dogs my whole life, and that was never a discussion. Like, oh, it's all in the genetics. And it's like, you know, a dog is a dog. Like, you know, but I'll say this, like, it may be genetic, but there's also a way to increase and enhance that. Like, if my dad wasn't like, okay, let's say for instance, my dad wasn't a bodybuilder or wasn't a big man and didn't go to the gym, but me for say, if I go to the gym and I eat right and I take my supplements and I'm doing right, and then you couldn't tell me it was genetic because I'm bigger than him. So it's like, my dad didn't have it. How do I have it? It's like, it's there, but I enhanced it. I did what I had to do to bring it to life. So it's the same way with the dogs, I feel like.
No, it is the same thing. It's genetic influence, you know. You can
Yeah.
definitely influence genetics, and that's the whole topic of tonight. Is that saying that it's just genetics? It's just you can really tell if somebody's really a novice, especially when it comes to the genetics. When they say that, I remember that I think a lot of people used to do it just because they wanted to sell dogs, you know. And I
Yeah,
think that
I was
often.
gonna say
Whoa! What do you think's changed, bro?
it's a sales pitch.
What we talking about here? Like you acting like
Yeah.
niggas changed. What?
Yeah.
It's a sales pitch at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
a cheap sales pitch, people, to be clear. One of the things that I think Stan's making sense of that I don't think we've said yet, but, you know, when the dog's not physically active, just like us, you increase the risk of hypertension, heart disease, which is the #1 killer of people, along with circulatory respiratory syndromes. Poor circulation actually leads and increases the risk for cancer.
Yeah.
Think about, there's so many things that take place when we are inactive, and your dog, again, by design, was never designed to be inactive, immobile, or useless. It needs something that, just like we do. You want to go outside, you always feel better when you go outside. Like, people don't understand. The minute your body hits the sun, something changes. Like, you already feel more alive when you hit the sun.
Yeah.
Your body drinks those rays. How you think they came up with the concept of Superman? It's like, boy, I feel better in the sun. Imagine if somebody felt that great in the sun. You're like, shit, I want to be Superman.
I mean, it's the first thing I do in the morning, man. They say that you should touch the earth, you know. So every morning when I go out, part of my morning routine is barefoot in the grass, out in the sun.
Grounding.
You know?
They call it grounding or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Barefoot in the ground. Yeah.
It helps. Man.
Yeah, it's a sales pitch for one, like you said, but I never, like I said, for one, I never heard about a big discussion of genetics, but I also feel like the bully community is the one community that overfeeds exaggerately. Like I never heard of a dog eating 2-3 times a day like that until I started meeting bully people, and they're like, "Oh, I feed my dogs 2 times this. I'm stacking hamburger in there. You know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that," and I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. You know, I feed my dog 1 time a day, once.
Yeah.
You know, and puppies, you know, puppies is a different story. Like I let them feed 3 times, you know, when they're young until the point of like the mush phase, and then once then it's 2 times. I don't do the 3 times ever. Like I usually do 2 times a day, once in the morning, once in the evening.
Yeah.
But it's an overfeed thing, like you said, and then you're just piling bad food inside. They have no time to get it out or burn it.
Yeah. Well, like you said earlier, man, when you come to the you know, the fasting, if there's not, it doesn't matter what you put in your dog's body. If the internal lining of the digestive system is inflamed, it's not going to absorb any nutrients anyways, or it's going to absorb a lot less nutrients, and that's why you're going to have big piles of fucking shit all over your yard that you get clean up, you know. And so, so let's talk about nutrition and how nutrition influences cellular health and development. I'll let you go ahead, Trevor, because you've been testing a lot of food out. You've done a lot of personal projects with your own dog, and honestly, it's kind of crazy when you think about it, because a lot of people wouldn't, you know, how the food and nutrition is going to influence the dog. You still do it just to see, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, we're working on something very big with the, you know, I already projected a big exit, so we got to do the work, and part of that is proving the point, so you could see that if anybody's showing you how things are going to improve, hey, this is the way that it works, and my dogs, I put them through the suffering. Now, I know down to the science how many milligrams of calcium my dogs need, let alone how much protein, and that for every, 24 pounds or 30 pounds a dog needs, I think it's 24, 14 grams of fat. Like I've got every medium chains, but mind you, people, my background is in nutrition. The first school I ever went to go speak, and 10 years ago, talked to 400 kids about how everything works in the human body. So Zach's right in saying the dogs do not need carbs. Carbs in our body, they process and are done in an hour. How do you get to that 3 to 4 hour? Hey, eat every 3 to 4 hours. If you eat nutrient-dense food, protein, carb, and fat, most proteins have a fat with them. What happens? The body processes the protein, which takes 2 to 3 hours. Fats, 3 to 4. Carbs, 1 hour. And all carb is glycogen, GGGGG. Well, the dog's body's metabolizing things 3 times as fast, but it at times takes longer to process as far as getting through its digestive tract. So if carbs spike insulin levels just like us, your insulin is actually made up of about 52 or 53 amino acids. Everything in the body down to the DNA is made up of protein. So the #1 building block for hair, which has got unique keratin, aka eggs, nails, all that stuff, You need quality. So what I've been studying, well, not studying, I it sounds like I know, but I put my dog's Ego Started on raw. He never had any issues with the skin. His coat was shiny. And then I switched him to that old bullshit, Diamond and Victor. I showed you how bad it got. He almost had hard scars on the back of his legs because of that bullshit food. We were like, hey, Victor worked for me. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. And then I switched him to the high end. We went Origin. I spent 3 months on Carnivore, which is $140 a bag for a $22 bag. Zara's paws were still inflamed, just to prove that dog food ain't shit. And now I'm cooking the food and putting the fats back in because I dry it out. Why? Because a dog is a carnivore, right? So it chews and swallows, but it don't really chew the food. So you say, the dog needs to absorb these nutrients. What's the best way to do that? Well, I break them down so they are absorbable versus the dog trying to break down a whole fucking steak. Your dog can swallow a steak in 2 bites realistically. Anything 4 ounces and under, that dog's gonna take 2 bites, not chew it up. And the average person needs to chew food at least 12 to 14 times, upwards of 18, for it to be broken down so the body can do what? Process it. Another thing about starches, the dog's body doesn't produce amylase, which breaks down starch, and it only drops in increments out of the pancreas. So my thing was always this. People used to be like, hey, drink protein shakes, right? And I say, if you drink a protein shake, which I've never agreed with, it gives you the calories you need, but you take away the job of the stomach. And the stomach is really the brain. Why? Because it blends all of our food, sends it through the small intestine where you absorb your nutrients, and then it goes through its processing. Well, a dog, I said, it's kind of got to be the same way if they need the nutrients. Why do people who get gastrointestinal surgery they basically get half their stomach cut? Well, they have to take hydrolyzed protein and various vitamins because they cut the ability to absorb nutrients out by removing some of the small intestine, so they don't eat as much, so they can stay on that track to lose weight. So I'm literally applying all that knowledge, making sure the dog's eating the food, getting the nutrients, the stomach's doing its job, adding the fats, and putting, in my opinion so far, the food in the dog system in the best way possible. And I've seen a change, point blank. And I can go on and on, but I've got 100 steps written out on just my page about nutrition, because to me, it's like the end all be all for me personally. And my dogs do too much. My dogs, they sit around, so they have to be taken care of to go and do what I need them to do.
Very true. Yeah. I learned about the carbs from winter to summer. So in wintertime, I was on a certain dog food, and all my dogs were good. Everything was okay. Then summertime started coming here just this summer. And it was like the closer it got to getting warmer, the more issues I was starting to see out of the dogs. And I'm like, bro, I haven't changed the food, nothing. And that's when I started digging, and I started learning, like, okay, it's all this, like, look at all the carbs in this food. And I think the biggest problem we have is like how Trevor just broke that down. Like when people ask me and I tell them like less carb food, they ask me, well, they don't know what carbs are.
It's not on the bags.
That's what I was about to say. You're not going to find it on any feed. Like, for example, this is a feed, right? You're never going to see any, it's going to be crude fat or crude protein. You're not going to see any type of carbs measured on any type of regulated feed ever in the dog food.
And all carbs are sugar, people. Sugar spikes your insulins, and you need to know the difference between sucrose, fructose, and I think there's one more, but I can't think right now. Sucrose often comes from natural forms of sugar, that being fruits. That other man-made bullshit, it'll have you high as hell, like eating some Starburst or something, and then you crash. Why? Because your body doesn't need that much sugar, let alone sugar in any high doses at all.
Yeah. So I guess go ahead, Stan.
No. As you mentioned, when you said a certain brand of dog food, you go, yeah, my dog works well on that food. But there's a difference between living and thriving. Mm-hmm. So if your dog is on that food and it does well, that doesn't mean you've maximized your dog's genetic potential. That just means that your dog is living.
No, exactly.
Very true. I had the problem, man. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Probably one of the best that I found that I've used so far is the X-Dog food. But with the amount of dogs I have, I can't lie. Like, I can't afford to put them all on it. And it's like, I've been trying to find that happy medium, you know what I'm saying? And I just had this discussion with my vet, and he's 70 something years old. He's been around forever. He's an old country dude. And I finally just asked him, like, not what do you recommend? I went in there and was like, hey, what do you feed your dogs? And he blew my cat back, and he's like, I use the Value Pack Red Bag 24/20, and I'm gonna tell you why. And then he broke it down. He was like, there's no this, that. He's like, you don't want peas, lentils, all this other stuff. None of that's in there. You don't want, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, he said, I've been feeding, and then like he told me how he basically said you can't. He's the only vet that's ever told me you can't trust what they put in these bags. That's what he told me. He was like, you can't. I can't tell you what they put in these bags, but I can tell you what I use and what I've not had problems with. Like. And most people would be in there saying Purina or Science Diet. And he doesn't sell it in his store and he doesn't recommend it. But I've never just asked him, what do you use? And that's what he told me he uses.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's crazy.
Well, that's one of the first rules in fitness that we learned years ago, especially nutrition. If you don't cook it, you don't eat it. So I never agreed with dog food. I understood it was a necessary evil for the time being, which is why we got to work so hard so I can bring a chef in and just cook all my dog's food. Because I'd be doing it now and it'd take about 10 hours. But the gist of it is we had to know what we were putting in because food is a science. I do know that to be true. 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories. Well, how much energy am I going to spend today? How do I reduce them? Because all calories are energy, right? The more energy you consume, aka our dogs and us included, and the less effort we put, less exercise, the more we expand. So even when they're selling people, humans that is, hey, this has only got 133 calories. What they really saying is, you can eat this and still not do shit. I'd be like, get the fuck out of my face with that nonsense, y'all.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask most people, the average person, if you tell them to fast their dog, they would think it was inhumane. They would think you're abusing the dog. They're like, what? You don't feed your dog on Sunday? You know, and it's like they would lose their mind. But with the carbs, one thing I've been trying to because I see a lot of people with their dogs have the yeast infection. They got the bright nose, you know, the paws are bright red. And I try to tell them, so just like Trevor said, when the dog's body takes the carbs and he breaks it down into sugar, then the sugar turns into yeast, and then boom, there goes your dog's body.
It's got to leave somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's that simple.
Yeah. When you talk about nutrition, I mean, food is the holistic medicine. That's what it is. You know, like even the shit that you cook, you got to be wary of now.
I agree, because then you got fish farmer, and that's why I switched to the whole fitness thing, because you go, damn, I couldn't even point nobody in the right direction that could afford this shit. Impossible, because the quality of it, or you know, a caged chicken versus a free range chicken. I mean, it's getting the vitamin D, and even now in the chicken at Kirkland, it used to have calcium in it, but when you start diminishing the brand, I did a video on that. I go, damn, these chicken breasts from the Kirkland brand, which used to have about 3 grams of, or my bad, for 3 ounces be 25 grams of protein cooked. You go, this shit don't got no calcium in it, and calcium, according to Google, it's about what, 224 milligrams of calcium per 4 ounces of chicken normally. So there's calcium in chicken, but now the labels are telling you there's no calcium because the chickens are not free range, and even the chickens and animals need to be in the sun for the vitamin D to go through, synthesize, and create calcium in the body. It's a whole fucking thing.
We'll take a deeper dive into this. We want to spend. I won't take up too much of your guys' time, but I want to be able to answer some questions with these guys. So I'll let you guys answer. C.Austin.3 asked, what dry food do y'all recommend? So if you guys have questions, ask them. We're here to answer them.
I've kind of been in the same boat with Trevor, man. Like I've been bouncing around on so many different foods right now. I don't want to recommend. And here's the thing: I also learned that if your dog's accustomed to carb burning versus fat burning, then the food that works for my dog might not work for your dog, or vice versa, because they're accustomed to the bad food already. Yep. You see what I'm saying? Like, so if it's used to burning carbs versus burning fat, then I can't tell you a better healthy. Then you're gonna think I'm lying, because now your dog's trying to transition into a better healthy thing. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's rough. Like I said, the best I've used is the X-Dog right now. I ain't gonna lie. I took my vet's advice, and I went and bought like 5 bags of the Red Value Pack 24/20. No wheat, no soy, 2 meat protein. It's pork and beef, I think, and which is good because I got dogs that don't agree with salmon, and I got dogs that don't agree with chicken. So we're in a happy medium. I'm starting to see more firm shit. I'm starting to see better, happier faces. Yeah, I mean, one thing I can say for a lot of people that don't do it, if they don't, hydrate your dog's food when you feed them. Like
Yes.
my grandpa used to do that when I was a kid. Like I know it was shitty food, it was Gravy Train. Like, but that was the thing. Like he would fill that bowl up and then fill it up with enough water to make gravy. But that liquid in the food helps your dog because, but like I see so many people that just don't hydrate their dog's food, and
It
then
makes
they're in the
sense though.
house.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna help with digestive 10 times more for one. Like you don't have to let it soak; just hydrate it. Fill it up with food and fill it up with water the same amount, and your dog's gonna be fine. Because if they don't have any water in their stomach when the food hits it, it's gonna dehydrate them because it's
which is
gonna
why they go drink
absorb
a
it
bunch of
all.
water. And I'm actually going to display
which
that,
which
break
in
it down.
terms will give your dog a higher risk of getting bloat
Yeah.
because
Exactly.
and so you want
Whatever
to
you do,
reduce
don't go
that.
work them after that. Do
Yeah,
not
that
go
too.
work
Let them
them.
chill. Yeah, let them
Yeah, let
chill.
you eat that bullshit and then go drink 2 pounds of water. They need at least a sip for about 2 hours, in my opinion.
Yeah, fresh X bullies. I hit it right on the money. If you can get yourself some bone broth, if you can make some homemade organic bone broth, that's
Yeah.
probably the best thing you can hydrate. Or next case scenario, get yourself some good water.
Yeah, and bone broth is it helps with both immunity as well as healing, and reducing inflammation. They've been using that in Asia for centuries to give people when they've got scar wounds and in war. But I'm with Zach. I went down the rabbit hole. I just tell people, hey, make sure that you make best you can. Beans have lectin. Lectin often causes inflammation, but there are studies, even Harvard's written, that lectin helps with the absorption. I know if we eat beans, a lot of times we struggle at times, we get gassy because protein's measured by the nitrogen balance in your body. And what that means is, even us humans, if I eat much red meat, my body gets shitty or gassy. If I eat fish, you go, oh, that was easy to process. So if you watch the potato, that starches, they synthesize quick. Eat
Yeah.
about a potato, 26 grams of carbohydrates in one red potato. Eat a potato 30 minutes before you go work out, and you'll feel like you got quite a bit of energy. So no potatoes, because as Zach said, and I know that too, it feeds the yeast and sugars. It's a high sugar thing. Watch the rice. People love say, hey, we got rice. Oats aren't awful, but they're not the answer. One of the best things you can add if you're doing natural is quinoa, even though it's a fruit. But it's a superfood, so it has all 10 essential amino acids. So if you can watch the starches and the peas and the beans, you can survive a lot longer long term. And even when he's
Yeah.
talking about his dog's frustration, it is a process in repurposing their gut. And that in itself, that pooping thing, we get over it. We're like, fuck, we're going back to this food. But adding kefir in a cheese form that you can get at Costco, it can help as well. But that process could take anywhere from 10 to 21 days. So there's 21 plus days at times of your dog shitting bad when you're switching dog food or trying to get them improved. So we all say, man, fuck this shit. Because
Yeah, you
this
gotta
shit is
give that
getting ridiculous.
transition time. You gotta,
Yes,
yeah. If you're switching, you gotta give it, man.
it's a long
Some
Yeah,
time.
dog foods that even tell you how to transition. Like it'll tell you, like on the value pack bags, you look on the back and it tells you if you're going from a different brand to come to this, hey, do it this. You gotta transition because if not, you're just gonna tear their stomach up instantly.
And the
yeah,
reason why that transition is because, as I tell people, it's my biggest thing. If you ate chicken and rice your whole life and then ate some vegetables or some beef, what the fuck you think your stomach would do?
Or
It'd have a
seasoning.
fit. It'd be like
Yeah,
the flora. There's so much that the body needs to build up its microbials to manage, distribute, and process what's going on. So it's almost like you eating cardboard and the body not knowing what to do. Isn't it funny that you can eat a cup of oatmeal and feel like you got all nutrients you need, then you go eat 8 double cheeseburgers and your body still be like, what the fuck is this shit? That's
yeah,
literally what it's like. So when you get a dog, a new bag of dog food, nobody should eat the same thing forever. There's more histidine, for instance, in goat meat. So my dogs, I blend up chicken, fish, and red meat in their cooked food because each one of those has a different value of a specific amino that helps replenish coat, nails, and keep them healthy. Like, it's just not that easy. My nutrition's everything. And
yeah.
every meat has its own value, biological value of absorption and utilization. And we all know an egg is the best thing you could ever give your dog.
yeah. An egg is a natural multivitamin, especially farm fresh egg. I mean, the biological value on a fresh farm egg is 104. On any egg is 104, which is 100
Yeah.
better than 100%. And then you got to look at it like this: every dog is unique. So to say, do we recommend a certain dog food? There's no way for us
Yeah.
to tell it because there's just too many things that influence lifestyle,
Truly.
environment, just allergies, genetics. Like it all play different. You could take 6 dogs out of the same litter. and they can all be influenced different by the same bag of dog food or brand of dog food. So what I would say is whatever dog food you're using, or if you're using a dog food as a base, I would remove about a half a cup and then of food of what
feed
you
less.
recommend feeding, and then supplement it with some whole food sources. You know, a lot of people who go, man, I was trying to put weight on my dog. I would ask them, I got this so many times. They were like, well, I'll be like, what are you feeding? They're like, well, I feed this brand of dog food and I add wet canned food. Wet canned food is empty calories. It's going to tell your dog's body that it's full of 0 calories. So get rid of the canned dog food, throw an egg in there and a tablespoon of like some animal fat, that healthy fat, like beef tallow, duck fat, chicken fat, lard. And you're going to get way more out of your bag of kibble.
Yeah, I mean, you want them to. They want to. If they're eating more carbs than fat, they're going to stay hungry. That's why your dog seems hungry.
The racing greyhounds, their diet is 50% fat.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what they're built for. They're like naturally they're going to have more of a fat-based diet anyway. So, you know, I don't think too many dogs are going to be running through a field and stop and eat a batch of potatoes over blueberries or a bird.
Yeah.
No.
Coconut oil and salmon oil, yeah, they're both healthy fats. They're great fats. You just got to make sure they're not rancid.
Okay, so
refined coconut oil, and then make sure your salmon oil is not rancid, because
I got a couple questions that some people on Facebook had asked today when I made the post that y'all might be able to help with. So the first one was, are there any chicken-free supplements available? So the lady said her dog is allergic to chicken and she's had problem with certain supplements because it's chicken-based or a product in it and he doesn't do well with it.
Who's she buying supplements for? Pedigree?
I know she just recently asked me about some of the X-Dog and Muscle Bully products. So I think she's coming to yours now, but she was just asking, like, is there any
depends on the product. The majority of our product are beef-based. You know, beef bone broth and stuff like that. You'll find chicken liver, like in some of the products, like the multivitamins. They'll have that in there, but like the majority of the products that I custom formulate, as far as like Satin Ball, Formula Master Weight Gainer Gains, a lot of our toppers, the Muscle Building Performance, they're all beef based.
Question 2. Can supplements cause sun or heat reactions? Meaning, if you're giving a dog certain supplements, can it happen to have any type of issue in the sun or a heat reaction?
I never heard of that. I mean, you can get hot spots with anything you type of feed, but it just depends. Like, they need to figure out what type of proteins are. You know, like if, for example, you're feeding a warm, like say you're feeding raw, and you're feeding a warm protein source in the summertime, your dog's going to run hot. You know what I mean? So in the summertime, it's best to feed cooling type proteins. You know, like venison and stuff like that, compared to like chicken, which is considered a hot protein.
Just think about the red meat. When we eat it, we get heavy, we get hot. Eat too much steak, you're breaking to a sweat at the table. Your dog is doing the same thing, but their natural temperature is already at 101 and up to 102. So if you add red meat while they're processing that, the struggle gets real for them because they're already hotter. Ours is 98.6. Sun affects us some, but for the most part, they're exposed like a nerve to the sun. So the supplement, I don't see how that would cause an issue. But as Stan said, I know for a fact, go eat a steak and run 3 miles. You will feel that shit.
Not to interrupt you, here's a list of, so there's cooling proteins, neutral proteins, warming proteins, and hot proteins. So what would be considered a cooling protein would be rabbit, whitefish, pollock, duck. A neutral protein would be beef, pork, salmon, bison, quail, tuna. Warming protein, chicken, anchovy, pheasant, turkey. Hot protein, venison, goat, lamb. And so just vice versa. If you're in a cold climate, you want to feed warming proteins. If you're in a cool climate, a hot climate, you want to feed mostly cooling and neutral proteins.
All right, and the third one was, why does a dog constantly eat grass? Is he missing something in his diet?
Yeah, there's digestive issues, big time. There's some imbalance in this gut flora in most cases. Green tripe is great. Get you some green tripe and a good live probiotic. A lot of dog food companies will put guaranteed live, but the motherfuckers preserve, like, you know what I mean? If your probiotics coming, like, for example, if it ain't from like kefir or fermented vegetables, right? Or if it ain't coming from a capsule that's probably inside of a refrigerator, it has to be cooled. I don't see how it's live. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that might also just resort back to the diet. I think it starts with what the dog's eating. If he's basically, right? If that's what we.
Yeah. So here's a good question. X Dog or Pro Plan. So I don't know what's in Pro Plan, but I know they probably have one of these ingredients. So this is non-biased. So this is what I can do.
No. I'll stop. I just was on Pro Plan and left, like out the door. Like it's not hitting on what I tried it. And I'm gonna be honest. This last little month, I'm having better results off the value pack than I was on the Pro Plan.
So yeah. So let me explain to you. So what like the things you're not going to find in X Dog kibble. No corn, no soy, no wheat, no peas, no potatoes. And it's going to start meat as the first ingredient. And I'm an advocate raw feeder. So, but if I was going to come out with kibble, I wanted to find a loophole, right? It's going to start meat as the first ingredient. And it's the highest calorie per cup that starts with meat with first ingredient that does not have any of those ingredients. And so that's all I can say about that. A lot of people do well on the food. I've had some people who did not do well on the food.
I mean, like I said, I had two or three bags that you gave me, was like, here, try this. And I'm not going to lie. Like my dogs, about 2-3 months, I took 2 dogs out the pack and I converted them and put them strictly on X Dog, and the results were amazing. But in order for me, I'm not even going to sit here and act like I'm got that much money. Like I couldn't afford it to feed all my dogs. So I'm not just going to keep segregating 2 dogs. You know what I'm saying? Like, but if you can, I'm telling you, for anybody that's following right now, if you can afford it, I would choose X Dog food over anything right now.
And there's some really high quality foods that, I mean, shit, Trevor can talk about it. A lot of foods that come in from Canada, and I'm not talking about Inchuk that's like infused oil and based with corn. You know what I mean?
And
like,
what he's talking about specifically is synthetic wool. And when you look at the sodium on your bag, everything below that is all basically synthetics, the bullshit, right? That's where you start seeing the. And then what happens is the body doesn't know what to do with synthetics. So where you're supposed to get all these nutrients, calcium, and whatever else is on the bag, carbohydrate, there's calcium carbonate. The body doesn't know how to process this stuff. And then through the extrusion process, all of it's burned up anyway. Imagine burning a piece of chicken like till it's black and then giving it to somebody. You ain't getting no nutrients out of that junk. So the Canada brands, they removed any synthetics. And those are, I mean, that's a game changer. So on certain dogs, like you said, it gets expensive, people. I literally have 3 different foods, and I got like 5 dogs that stay with me. And I kid you not, every 2 or 2, 3, everybody eats different. It's actually pretty nuts when you think about it. Tron eats Origin, Zara and Gia eat Stella, the whitefish, and then Ego and Zara right now, they getting cooked food. The cooked food I'm getting from Costco and make it every night. Guess what? Not every night, but for 4 days it lasts, and it's a cup of this dust that I'm making. I blend it all, got food processors. That's almost $200 every 4 or 5 days. So on top of the $80 a bag of dog food, but for me, again, I require a lot out of my dogs. So there's no option. There's no option. There's no option for me to go back or give them less. I got to do it. Because if I want them to run in this heat or go here, go there, they got to have the nutrition. And me too.
I think that might be I believe it's one of the biggest problems too with a lot of the dogs in the bully community, the fact that they're feeding them high performance food, high protein, and they're not getting the chance to go out there and work because they're also being told on the flip side. You got to think it's a catch-22. You got to feed your dog a lot. You got to pack him full of protein, but he can't run because he's going to have a heat stroke pass out. You see what I'm saying? So
the cardiovascular system, it can be built up. And, somebody the other day, they said, hey, I want my bully to work. And they've been seeing Ego in my dogs. I said, well, how old is your dog? They said a year. I almost start laughing like this motherfucker been walking a mile since he was 8 weeks old. And I started him moving around at 4 weeks. Yeah. It's not something that happened overnight. He held onto a pillow in 98-degree weather with a pit bull for over 10 minutes in Texas heat. There is no bully that could have done that and survived that I know of. But he's been conditioned in 198-degree weather for a very long time. But that takes time too, and then proper breathing.
That goes right back to the first thing we discussed, environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely choose beach work over street work because beach work is going to be a lot easier on the joints and it's going to condition the stabilizer muscles more efficiently. And so I never recommend running on hard pavement. And fucking the pavement's probably hot right now.
Hot, yeah. It's scorching, bro.
Cooking, bro.
They say if you put the back of your hand to whatever and it's too hot, but that's what basically, like if it's too hot for the back of your hand, then just imagine it's burning your dog when you touch the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Oh,
hills. I think like a sand hill. Everybody that really is trying to condition a dog, you should just invest in a sand hill. Just call your local dirt people and be like, "Hey, can you come dump a pile of sand on my land?" And it works wonders.
I built a sandbox for the dogs. I've got a dirt box and a sandbox that we cultivate and build compost. The puppies at 4 weeks will be inside in a compost box, specifically dirt. When they start moving around at 4 weeks old, they go. The other time they'll spend 30 minutes in the sandbox stepping around. It'll give them a lot more strength and stability. This whole thing, people, the hard surfaces that stand, and those guys know it. If you have a breed that's hip to elbow dysplasia, the dog needs to have their feet under. When we stack them, we'll put them on graphite, which is that stuff that goes on skateboards, and it strongly comes on the average stacking box anyway. And I don't stack the show ring, I stack to get them to stabilize and start getting strong. So I get all this stuff you're going to see with this group of puppies and the next group that drops. I'm going to highlight everything we're doing with X-Dog, the products, along with, the things we're going to continue to do with Muscle Bully as well.
So let's take one more question and call it evening. I'm enjoying this. We'll definitely do this quite often. So let's get this one. If you guys have one more question, we're down to answer one more question with you.
Somebody said because they're not getting the sun, too much killwood in the summer. These are all kind of just statements. Somebody stapling something?
Stan probably. That ain't me.
Oh, I didn't think about it.
I was like, is somebody stapling something, bro? They putting pictures
I wasn't even thinking.
Nobody's really been asking questions.
If not, shit, man, we'll do this again, man, for sure. Maybe the end of this week.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. This is a good one. Optimal exercise for XL Bully daily. What type of XL Bully you got? Because there's a lot of different XLs out there. There's some that can fucking work, and there's some that can't.
I think the biggest thing, man, with a lot of these bullies, bro, I think the only thing I can tell you is when you get your dog, have him check their heart. Make sure he's got good heart health and all that before you get out there and get to working him. You can't check you can't do the testing on their hips and all that until they're like 2 years old. But as long as they got good heart, they got good breathing, like look, the nostrils, if their nostrils are closed, I wouldn't advise working your dog as much, just certain things that you can look for. But for the most part, when you go to the vet, man, just make sure that the dog has a good heart.
I can answer this question. So Bayou Bully's 120 pounds. I can already tell you have an athletic dog. I purchased the dog from Bayou Bully, gave it to one of my ex-employees. His name is Scuddy, named the dog Scuddy. Very athletic dog. They have some extreme athletic dogs. You can do whatever, man. They do. I don't think you can work those dogs out enough. They're conditioned. They're designed to be able to work. They're probably the most athletic XLs I've seen outside of Unleashed up in Michigan, but it's all the same blood. They're just 120-pound pit bulls, and in general, like real pits. And so daily exercise, if they peak and plateau, enhance it through resistance training, and got one of his females coming. Cool. Yeah, I hand select. I went over there, and I went down there and picked up the dog and everything. So I know a lot about that dog. You got some really good blood on your hands. You're fine. Throw a vest on him. Play fetch all day. I know he was playing, man. When we went down there, man, he probably threw the fucking tennis ball 50 times, and it was like humid as shit down in Louisiana. So those dogs can work all day. They're designed to stay outside, even though they give them. They got obviously a great facility. So, but man, let's get on out here, guys. I got to get home before the fucking lady kills me. And
yeah,
I've been up here all fucking day. So, hey. Appreciate you, Zach. Appreciate you, Trevor. Let's keep growing together.
For sure.
Hey, guys, we're going to give you a lot of value. Me and Zach are going to be posting a lot of stuff. We're going to do a lot of giveaways on here. We're going to get really active on here. If you have any questions, message us. And we're going to call this Muscle Bully Mondays. We're going to definitely come on every Monday. And we might be able to we'll probably do something maybe at the end of the week, man. But, man, y'all keep killing it, man. And let's keep growing together.
All right, man.
All right, y'all. Y'all be good.